we are live. So, looks like, all right, hey everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
So we're gonna actually give this a couple minutes just so everyone has time to like get situated, get in a quiet place or whatever it might be, and we'll go ahead and dive into the presentation here in a little bit.
Looks like we have about 25 people at the moment, but I'm sure more to come. Uh, I'll be introducing myself further for those who haven't met me, but I'm the Director of Program Management here at MatchDay, and you probably know Rami's face, likely from LinkedIn or beyond.
Yes, all right. So looks like we've got people rolling in. So I'll kind of start us off here, maybe in like 2 minutes. I'm sure everyone's just getting home and winding down. So maybe if you want to make yourself a drink or a beverage or a lemonade or something, if it's really hot like it is here in Texas, you can go ahead and do that. Get comfortable. Really, the kind of the whole point of this today is to help you understand, you know, what's available to you on the non-clinical side of healthcare, some of the common pitfalls, and some of the strategies that we teach fellows in our fellowship to make this career transition. So, we did our first one last month, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I got to tell my story, and we had a lot of good engagement and conversation from everybody. So, these are things that are new for us here at MatchDay, but we really do enjoy them, and we find that a lot of our followers like to kind of put a face to MatchDay, meet us, and see what we're all about. And it looks like we have Essie, who just joined us as well. Welcome, Essie.
Hi, nice to see you. I, of course, had technical difficulties joining, so it looks like you guys already got started. But I'm glad to see that there is almost 50 people here. That's really fun.
Yes, and everyone, Essie's our director of admissions, and she will introduce herself a little bit later in the presentation today. So we just wanted to give it a couple minutes so basically everybody here can, get settled in. We'll give some more people joining. Looks like we've got 47 people with us today, so really exciting. So I guess just to give you an outline of today, so I'm going to start us off with a little presentation. I'm going to go over my personal story and how, we went about starting MatchDay, and then I'll talk a little bit about, what it is we do here at MatchDay. From there, I will walk us through a fun exercise that I did many years ago that changed my life. It was a exercise that helped me really think about what it is I want from my career, what it is I want from life, and it gave me a lot of clarity. And I love to do this exercise with people. Anytime I start coaching someone on an individual level, I always start with this exercise to gain clarity. So that'll be fun. And then I will hand it off to Jenny, our program development director, to walk you through some of the workshop. And that'll be really going through, what opportunities are there, how do you figure out what skills you have that line up with those opportunities, and then a couple tactical things that will hopefully help you in your career transition. From there, I will take the mic again and go through some of the biggest career killers, we call them. These are like the do's and don'ts of career transitions. I will go through some of that. And then for those of you that are not existing fellows or don't know much about our fellowship, we will walk you through essentially what our fellowship is, how it works, the structure we have, and we'll be able to answer any questions for anyone that has them. And then at the end, for those of you that are considering the fellowship, we do have a little bit of a gift for those of you who joined us today as a thank you for coming on, and we will share that at the end of the call. So without further ado, I'm going to set up my presentation here in 1 second. Can you see my screen okay, Jenny?
Yep, looks good. I would just enlarge the slide.
All right. How's that?
Yep, thumbs up.
Perfect. All right. Well, for those of you that don't know me, I've got a pretty interesting story. So I was basically you at one point. I know we have a lot of clinicians here and a lot of diverse backgrounds. We have doctors, nurses, therapists, dental hygienists, and there's a lot of different backgrounds. And so for those of you that follow me on LinkedIn, if that's where you learned about this presentation today, I was once a family doctor. I went to medical school, I did some residency. Eventually, I dropped out and pursued my non-clinical career. And so for me, the story started when I was, maybe 24 years old. I went into medical school super excited. I was, really excited to learn all the new things about the human body, about anatomy, about physiology. And in my first 2 years, I was just, what I would call a good student. I showed up super engaged and excited and wanting to learn. And somewhere along the road, probably around my second year, I started to feel like something was off. I, as a person, was changing. My values were changing. And I started to see healthcare in a different light. And it was mostly from the preceptorships that I started doing, getting into the day-to-day of healthcare. And for some reason, something just felt off. I felt like I had, at one point, made a huge mistake in that maybe I wasn't meant to be a doctor. Maybe this wasn't for me. And so when that seed kind of got started in second year, I thought it would just eventually go away. And unfortunately, I got to third year, my clinical rotations, even more so. It just really felt like I was getting disengaged. The first 2 years was all about the learning and the excitement and the growth. And then it became about something else. And I think that I really struggled to make sense of the direction that I was going in as a medical student. And then by the time I got to my fourth year, I really started contemplating, do I even go and do residency? Do I just graduate and start something else? And ultimately, I said, you know what, this is just a phase, it's gonna pass. Maybe if I do residency, things are gonna be a little bit different. So I went on to do family medicine residency. And in that first year, things got a lot worse. The work got harder, and I think medicine's a career when your heart's not in it. It's really hard to work 100-hour weeks and wake up motivated every morning and excited. And so, by the end of the first year, I really had, seriously contemplating just dropping out at that point. And part of me just felt really scared, really unsure. I had almost $500,000 in student loan debt, $450,000. I said, how am I ever gonna, what other jobs can I even do if I were to drop out? What could I do that's gonna allow me to make the earning potential that I need to make to pay off my student loans and still be happy? So I chickened out and I did another year. And I thought, let me just see if one more year things will change. And of course, around that time, COVID hit, things got exponentially worse. And I realized for sure, without a single shred of doubt, this wasn't the direction that I'm meant to go in. And I realized pretty quickly, if I don't change something at this point, my personal life is going to really take a big hit. My relationships, my health, and I saw that it was just going to affect every area of my life. So after my second year, I ultimately decided to drop out of residency. And that wasn't with that wasn't an easy decision. It was very difficult. There was a lot of fear involved. I had no idea what I was going to do. But somehow, even with like having no idea what was in store for me, I felt a huge weight lifted off of my shoulder when I really made that decision and when I committed to it internally. And my health got better, everything got better, and I was able to start on a new path in a new direction that ultimately led me here to founding MatchDay. So, at that point, a number of things happened. First 6 months, I started a business. I thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. So excited, hitting the ground running, started my pitch deck, started talking to investors. And within 6 months, that business completely failed. And so right off the bat, got punched in the face super hard with reality and realized I wasn't ready to be an entrepreneur. And maybe I actually really needed to get my foot in the door somewhere, learn the ropes, and be part of innovation. I think part of my personality was that I really liked innovation. I liked solving problems. I liked being part of the change, being involved in that. And so I saw health tech as a really awesome opportunity. And so that was when I really started my job search journey. So I started applying to jobs, networking, getting involved in the communities, posting on LinkedIn, posting on Instagram, and really just trying to get into the right circles. And it took me almost a year to really make my transition. And I found that through the process, I went through a layer of changes. I went through an identity crisis. I went through learning how to speak about my value. I went through having to learn how to apply to jobs or how to build my resume. And all of these things that over the course of a year just took a real toll on me. And I realized, wow, this was way harder than I thought it was going to be. But on the other side of that, I did catch a lucky break. I landed a job in Austin, Texas. My first job was in a role called Director of Community. So I was essentially the face of the company, marketing to physicians, speaking to physicians, doing recruitment. And I learned a lot in that role. But ultimately, I realized, that's not the reason I quit residency. That's not the reason I went on this path. That's not the role that I wanted. So I took the learnings and I started on my next job search. And I really found that I liked operations. I liked people management. I liked leadership. And so I got into clinical operations, landed at an early stage startup called Lena Health. And it really kind of showed me under the hood of the car. It was my first time in an early stage startup like this. And I got to see everything from fundraising to working directly with the CEO to, applying all the skills I learned at the last job and just, really settling into that new identity and taking ownership and initiative of being a leader. And so that was my second opportunity. It was super exciting. I learned a lot. And along the way, I started having my doctor friends and colleagues asking me, hey, Rami, you made this career transition. Looks like you got a cool job. I want to get out of patient care. How do I do that? And so, I started to realize, well, hey, how do I even explain this to you? You're going to have to go through a career identity crisis. You're going to have to go through shedding of your ego. You're going to have to figure out how to speak about yourself. You're going to have to build new confidence. But that's not something you can tell somebody right off the bat. And so I struggled to articulate the challenges that I went through that led me to ultimately leading to getting a new job, a new career. And at the same time, I was seeing that everyone was looking for a job board or a community or looking for a resume tweak. And I knew that that wasn't the answer. None of those singular things could actually solve the problem to go through that change and become, the customer success leader or the operations leader or the program manager or product manager. You really had to go on a journey, and there's kind of no easy way to explain this. And so, the honest answer is it's complex, it's layered, and it takes work. And that's kind of what led me to starting MatchDay was I wanted to create something that solved an end-to-end problem. I wanted to create a results-driven path to going from point A to point B and successfully landing a job. And so over the last 2 years, I've recruited some of the top coaches in the country, Jenny, Chanel, our program director, who's actually not with us today, and 14 to 16 other career coaches that could help us build this program and build this track and make it something that could help people get from point A to point B. It's really about the outcome, it's about the journey, and it's about the iteration and the process. So both Jenny and Chanel have helped build this program alongside me from the ground up. And we've iterated on our program probably dozens of times now, tweaking it, making it better, taking feedback so that we could figure out the real gaps that our clients really needed the most help with. So I'm going to go over some of these hidden struggles in a little bit more depth in the second part of our presentation. But, all this to say is that there are hidden struggles here that I'm sure a lot of you are currently facing. And I want to, give you some hope here that we're going to show you how to solve some of them, and then we're going to show you how to solve the rest in the fellowship if you choose to do so. So this kind of brings me to this next part of my presentation here, and I'm going to try to make it so it doesn't cut off here. But this was the very first presentation that my program director gave us in residency. And it's something that stuck with me throughout my whole career. And it's something that's very applicable to what we do today. And the reason she gave us this presentation was because we were interns and now we were taking care of patients, and we have patients' lives in our hands. And everyone knows that, the most dangerous time of the year to go into the hospital is July of every year, because that's when the new interns are starting. And really the point was to drive home the point of these 4 levels of competence. And so a lot of us were medical students, we were excited, we were eager, and we had a high degree of arrogance going in, especially, just going through, finishing medical school and graduation and all of that. And so there's 4 levels of competence that she walked us through, and essentially it goes into these 4 boxes. So the first one is, I have them over here, so it's conscious competence. This one is knowing what we know. This one is, we know what we know, we're building, we're learning new skills, we're getting new experiences, and we're understanding our new skills and experiences. This next box is unconscious competence. This is where I like to call this one flow state, basically. This is when, we don't even know what we know. We just kind of do it naturally. It comes easy. We've done it so many times with repetition. It's just a natural part of who we are. So we don't really have to think about it. That's another level of competence. There's conscious incompetence. This is where we are recognizing our gaps and recognizing what we don't know and not being afraid to say, I don't know. And that was something they really stressed. Oftentimes, medical culture teaches us that we always have to have the answer. We always need to know what to do next. But no, in reality, it's okay to say I don't know the answer, because we're taking care of patients' lives, and it's not okay to just guess. And then the most of the time of the presentation was spent on this box right here. And this falls under unconscious incompetence. And it's knowing what you don't know. And over 90% of medical errors happen in this category. It's when we don't know what we don't know. It's the area that we don't even know exists. And so we don't even think about it, and we don't even address it. And this is very dangerous, especially for students taking care of patients, but it's also very dangerous for career transitioners, I found. And I found myself coming back to this diagram over and over again. And it's really because I've seen this happen where when you don't know what you don't know, you skip stages, you miss things, and you end up in a circular loop of not getting feedback or not figuring out what's going right or wrong, not having a clear idea of what's actually happening in your job search. And this is where career pivots die. This is where the hope dies. This is where you lose confidence. This is where you just give up and decide like this isn't worth it. And so I found this analogy really good here with career transitions because they take time, they take self-awareness, lots of iteration and feedback loops, and a level of humility and being able to deal with rejection, because the difference here is it's not like clinical jobs, right? For clinical jobs, the licensing, the schooling is the vetting. But in the non-clinical job market, recruiters and hiring managers need to know who's qualified and who's not. And so they have to do the vetting. And so with that comes a lot of rejection. And if you're not used to navigating that, then it can be really defeating, and it could ultimately lead to, giving up too soon or giving up when you're actually really, really close. So I felt like this was a really important diagram that I wanted to share and share with you all. And so basically the point of this is many career transitioners that are not making progress or are feeling stuck, it's typically because they're stuck in stage 1 or 2, but they're using tactics meant for stage 4. And, stage 4 tactics, I would say, are, actually applying on LinkedIn, applying on the job boards, networking, interviewing. Really, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before stage 4 so that you have clarity, you have direction, you feel you have the level of grounding, competence, and confidence before you get to stage 4. And that's gonna, it's like the analogy of sharpening a knife, right? You want to sharpen your axe before you cut the tree. And this is a very important step that many people skip when they're doing their career transitions. And so basically what we created MatchDay to do was to start us off and address all of the gaps, all the invisible things, make the invisible visible, guide you through each stage of competence, and close the gaps so that you're not spinning your wheels. And also giving you the support system that will help when you're making this career transition. So covered a lot of information here. Every time I tell my story, I have to kind of take a pause because I get a little bit of anxiety about it, to be honest, because, I'll be honest, like making career transitions are really hard. And it's a new stage of life and it can be very scary. And I just want to acknowledge everyone here for being here. You've likely already gone through a number of these stages where there needs to be a change, and you're taking a step in that direction. And one of my personal missions is to, I want to help as many healthcare professionals as I can live fulfilling lives. I really believe that when we're happy in our work, when we're happy in our teams, when we're happy and fulfilled internally, then we become better members of society. We become better spouses. We become better fathers and mothers, and we ultimately have a better impact on society. And that creates ripple effects. And so for me, my mission is to help as many people as I can have that level of fulfillment in their lives. And it's having a job or a career, that's that's where we spend the majority of our time every day. And so if we're in a job that we love, that we enjoy, that we're fulfilled in, that's going to create a lot of positive outcomes in other areas of our life. So I've covered a lot. I'm going to take just a 2-second break here, but this is going to be the fun exercise that I wanted to walk you all through. So I'm going to actually turn off my camera here for just a little bit. Take a sip of water. And I'm going to walk you through a visualization exercise. So if you're, not in a quiet place right now, if you maybe can go in another room or go somewhere quiet where you can, essentially go into a little meditation, this is going to really be a super life-changing exercise, especially if you take it serious and really walk through it. It'll be about 8 to 10 minutes. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a little bit more groundedness and also just, a clearer vision for what you want from your career. So this is called the perfect day exercise. Some of you might have done this before, some of you not. But we're gonna essentially go through our perfect day. So I'll start it off with just a couple deep breaths. So if you're just getting settled in, let's just take 30 seconds to take a couple big deep breaths and get grounded. All right, so it's Tuesday night, you're getting into bed. And you have this feeling before you get into bed that tomorrow morning is going to be the start of the perfect day. Tomorrow morning, you're going to be waking up with the perfect amount of energy, with just the right amount of peace, and you're going to walk into the perfect day and the perfect job, and everything's going to just go your way. You're going to hit every green light, you're going to have the perfect cup of coffee, and everything's going to go very smoothly. So you get into bed, and Wednesday morning comes. Your alarm goes off. It only has to go off once, and you're already out of bed. And you have a great sense of peace that you're going to start your day calmly. You're going to go into the bathroom, maybe do whatever you got to do, take care of your hygiene. You're going to look yourself in the mirror and you're going to say, today is going to be the perfect day. And you're going to feel that joy that you've been searching for, that contentment, that fulfillment. And now you're going to walk out of your bathroom door and walk out of your bedroom, and your perfect day is now starting. However it starts for you, envision what you would do first thing in the morning. For some of us, it's going and making our morning coffee, listening to the coffee machine starting to brew. For others of us, it's waking up our kids, getting them ready for school. For some of us, it's getting a book and reading while it's still quiet in the house. And you're going to feel that level of peace as your day starts. And now as you start your morning, you're going to be getting ready to start your day. For some of us, it's going to the gym, getting the workout before work starts. For some of us, it's going on a walk. Whatever it is you want to do before work starts, go ahead and do that. And enjoy it. Now that we've went on our walk, or went and gotten our workout in, we're getting ready to go to work. What does your perfect work situation look like? Are you going to be driving into an office? Are you going to be coming back home to work in a separate room? Are you going to be going into a co-working space and working from there? Where are you going to be going to start your perfect day? And think about what it is you're going to be doing today. What type of role are you in? Are you in person? Are you remote? Are you talking to clients every day, having lots of meetings, talking to different people? Are you educating? Are you teaching? Are you working and collaborating with a team? Are you working on objectives, meeting deadlines? Are you consulting on a project? Are you coordinating care? What is it that you're doing in your day-to-day that brings you joy? Just see yourself doing that. Now that you're in your job, you're excited, you're working with team members you love, you feel like you're making an impact, you feel like you're being valued for the work you do, you feel like you're being paid adequately for your job. What does that feel like? And what does success look like? At the end of the day, what makes a good day for you? Is it checking off a checklist and knowing that you got all of your tasks done? Is it hitting a goal or working towards a goal that you're a little bit closer to? Is it closing a new deal with a client? Is it managing a project? Is it helping someone and making an impact in their day and making them feel better? What does success look like at the end of your day? Now 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock rolls around and you're ready to shut your computer or walk out of the office. What does that look like for you? Are you saying bye to your colleagues? Are you putting in an end of day report? And what does it feel like having a great day at work? For so many of us, we don't even know what that actually looks like anymore because we've been so accustomed to just work being something we check in and check out of. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if your work was something you're excited to clock in or clock out of? And now that the workday's over, you're going to get to enjoy the rest of your day, right? Because work is just one part of our lives. We're human beings at the end of the day. We weren't made just to work, but we were made to live. We were meant to have relationships. We were meant to be in nature. So what does your day look like after work? Are you spending time with your family? Are you having the energy to make a nice meal and sit down together? Are you going out for a walk or a hike? Maybe you're going out to the gym. And then how do you close out your evening? What do you do the rest of the day? Are you having dinner, enjoying a meal with your family? Maybe it's paint night and you're painting with your kids, or maybe it's just a day for yourself and to go and, take a walk and visit the park. And now you come home and you're winding down the day, and maybe you're doing your nightly routine, putting your kids to bed if you have kids. And just being super grateful for the day that you have, for the environment that you're in, and for everything, all the opportunities that you've been given. And as you're getting ready for bed, you maybe say a little prayer or say a little meditation or a word of gratitude for all the good things that have happened today and will happen again tomorrow. And now we're going to wake up and we're going to make that vision a reality, hopefully. So I'm going to come back online here. Even for me, guys, I always get a sense of peace when I do this meditation. And as I was saying it, I was going through my own version of this. And I think it's really important to get into the feeling of what it is we want. When we live in fear, or when we live in that cycle of turbulence and uncertainty, it distances us from the reality that we want. And so this exercise helped me build MatchDay. It helped me carry the vision of what MatchDay was going to be so that it could become this. And I hope that even on your own, you can practice this exercise for 10 minutes. It's life-changing, and I'm really grateful that I was able to share this with everyone here. So without further ado, hopefully now you're in a more relaxed state. I'm going to hand it off to Jenny here to give you the sauce of the presentation and hopefully start you on your career transition journey.
Thank you, Rami. That really put me in Zen mode before
Okay,
kicking
put
off.
everybody to sleep. Let me just say, let's all start doing some jumping jacks here.
I definitely feel more relaxed, but that's a good thing before starting with my end of things, getting down to business with a bunch of coaching type of slides. So this will definitely be a little varying from Rami's portion, but wanted to really go into giving you a sense of the MatchDay coaching experience and what that entails from top of funnel, especially in the self-discovery process that most of you are probably in at the moment. So as far as a roadmap for what to expect, now this will be under 60 minutes, but I want to give you a sense of what I'm going to cover. So we're going to focus on three main areas. First, exploring your options, because most clinicians simply don't have the exposure to the full range of non-clinical roles that maybe haven't been on your radar yet as you've been sourcing for new opportunities, or maybe you haven't started the sourcing process at all, which is very common. Secondly, aligning your skills. So understanding how and what you already do and how that translates into other skill sets and industries. And then third, we're going to build some momentum. So you leave here feeling that you have a greater sense of what actual next steps to take in your pivot to non-clinical roles. And I mean, the goal isn't to figure everything out tonight, but it's to leave with a greater sense of clarity and direction. As far as who this workshop is for, here at MatchDay, we support nurses, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, dental hygienists. It goes on and on. So it's really designed for anyone who's been working in a clinical background at any stage of curiosity or transition. So for those of you just starting to think about alternatives, or maybe you've been actively exploring or maybe you've been applying and hitting the wall. I want to emphasize there's no right timeline, as Rami was saying. Some people may take months, others it may be years before really taking action on this pivot. And the important thing is to start exploring intentionally and strategically. I wanted to provide a snapshot of where our fellows tend to go, the various categories of positions. Some of you may have attended our prior workshop, which was on transitioning into customer success and account management roles. That is a common title or realm of titles. Actually, I'm thinking of one of our fellows who recently got a double offer at two varying health tech startups. One, it was an account executive role, and the other was a customer success manager title. So it's a very common one in the realm of medical devices, pharma, of course, health tech, where I would say this is best suited for those who view themselves as having a strong ability to build trust and communication interpersonally, a lot of being on calls. While with operations, I would describe that as more behind the scenes. You're ensuring that the ship is sailing smoothly within the organization. You're improving systems and workflows, efficiency across various healthcare organizations. Consulting, one of my fellows was recently placed at Mercor, if you want to look that up, MERCOR. It comes to mind because they were ranked in 2025 as one of the top startups by LinkedIn. And he went on to do consulting and medical writing, but this could be very strategy focused, informatics, quality improvement, and education wise. That's a big hub as well. If you want to give it a Google search as well, Handshake AI was one of our recent placements within education. And I would describe that as those who are having a hand in curriculum development, simulation, training, and then of course program management, which can include leadership roles, project management, or even health product roles. So me sharing this with you, the key takeaway isn't to pick one that speaks the most to you, but rather to realize you have a lot of options that maybe you haven't yet been exposed to. And you may be thinking, as you view that slide, well, that's good to know. That's where fellows have progressed onto, but maybe you're feeling imposter syndrome because you might be thinking, I'm saying this because it's usually the starting point of working with my own fellows, but feeling a sense of imposter syndrome of not having worked in beyond a clinical capacity, and therefore it impacting the confidence to truly pivot into those external categories. So know that's a very common feeling. Mindset is more than half the battle oftentimes, which is why I appreciated Rami's meditation. But as far as your communication skills, I want you to reframe that as your communication skills can translate very fluidly into a corporate role, meaning the education you provide to your patients, conversations you may have with families, teamwork where you are directly impacting client-facing leadership roles. That would translate right into corporate. Critical thinking as well. You're likely making pretty rapid, high-stakes decisions, and that's exactly what consultants and strategists are paid for and what recruiters are looking for. And speaking of recruiters, I should have mentioned my background prior to working here within MatchDay was in recruiting. And I helped scale teams at an array of health tech startups, I've been in academia, recruiting and expanding the nursing program. So whether it's the agency side, the HR side, that's been the majority of my career within recruiting and talent acquisition. So observation wise, I found that the communication skills from clinical workers, as well as their critical thinking and team leadership, meaning the talent I would speak with for these healthcare organizations, the storytelling these clinical workers had when it came to coordinating care under pressure, that's the foundation of strong management and really translated well with progressing in interview processes. So the issue isn't that you don't have the skills, it's that you're probably framing it more so in a clinical context. So I'm going to cover how to adjust that. And basically, I want you to view this as not you starting over, but rather repositioning yourself. But first things first is you want to find something that is a fit. Just because these paths I mentioned exist, it doesn't mean that they're the right fit for you. So instead of asking yourself what jobs are out there, I want you to start asking what actually fits my life and my strengths. Again, going back to the meditation of what your ideal day would be. You want to think about your lifestyle fit because here at MatchDay, we have plenty that get placed in fully remote opportunities. Others like to be on site or perhaps a hybrid model, a blend of the two. Others are itching for travel, while there's some who are like, I have young kids, I don't want travel at all. So thinking of lifestyle fit is a good starting point, as well as your skill alignment. Of course, that's going to come into play, but I want you to start evaluating where do your strengths naturally translate, which can translate into what brings you energy. Compensation and growth, of course, is a high priority consideration for a lot of our fellows. What I hear often is they may be fine with their salary initially, but there's a harder to surpass ceiling in a corporate setting than there is in the corporate world. So thinking in terms of your compensation and benefits long term. And this is really how you avoid jumping into a role that doesn't actually solve the problem you're trying to fix and finding more fulfillment. You want to make sure it checks all three of these boxes. And it's a process to really understand, conducting that self-assessment and reflection before you start applying. And that's something that our coaches do not take for granted. Like the process of coaching, you might think goes right into let's revamp all your application materials. And yes, that is a huge part of it. But before you start rebranding everything, we want to make sure that we are intentional about that important step of self-assessment, because the biggest mistake people could make is they're just trying to escape something and then they're targeting something that may not actually align with what they would enjoy. So you want to identify your strengths, understand what energizes you, match it to those roles, and through research and of course the support of maybe a recruiter or a coach in your network or a MatchDay coach, that is all part of the process, because a good transition isn't just about leaving your current role, it's about aligning to the new one. And with that, I do want to provide some tools for you when it comes to independently conducting self-assessments. These are some popular ones that we actually include here within the MatchDay curriculum. The Saboteur assessment helps you identify your limiting beliefs. Of course, a personality assessment is enlightening. Work values matchers. So all of these add a piece to the puzzle. I do find that when my fellows do all of them, they get better confidence when it comes to concluding What do I want and what roles out there match to it? So these tools help guide you to finding that answer and help you also to ask better questions. So if you take one question from this section, it's definitely the question of asking yourself, what energizes you at work? Because your answer to that question often points directly to your best fit path, not what you're good at or what you should do, but what really gives you energy. As far as building momentum, how to start moving even before you're ready, this is where I find that fellows get stuck, understandably so. They want to wait until everything feels clear and perfect before they actually act. And something to keep in mind, and this is easier said than done, but clarity doesn't come first. I would say momentum does. Once they start conducting those self-assessments, requesting informational interviews for those who maybe are living a day in the life of a CSM or a program manager, getting direct from a stakeholder what that day-to-day is like, you build clarity by taking that action, not before it. So these are the 3 pillars I would describe as essential for kickstarting that successful transition. Networking is a huge piece of the puzzle. I can't tell you how many times I've seen fellows get placed by being forward with sending those outreach messages and asking those if they know a friend of a friend, even if it's in an indirect, distant connection, that person could be the door opener. Resume reframing is a big piece as well. And there is a science to it, a gamifying to it that I'll go into, and strategic positioning overall, because there are aspects of what recruiters and hiring managers evaluate beyond your actual resume. So to go deeper into that, I did want to provide one of our favorite ways of getting fruitful outreach connections. Something to keep in mind, especially in this day and age of AI, click of a button, sending automated messages. You name your inbox, I'm sure it's inundated with emails or LinkedIn messages, whatever it may be. So you want to make it as easy as possible for that stakeholder who's doing you a favor in creating an email that has everything they need to know about you to make that decision in having that conversation. I'm going to take this a step further to give you an actual example as well as a prompt for what you could pop into any AI chatbot of your choice. But as you can see, it's very clear from the subject to what your accomplishments are, why you're interested in that particular company, all the way through linking your LinkedIn profile, having your points of contact with a PDF of your resume. So I've seen time and time again this prompt and having this well curated result in interviews and getting placed. But as far as finding those connections, you might be thinking, that's great. Like, I have a prompt now for curating a well-suited email. And understandably, we get fellows who are like, I have no contacts within the health tech space or whatever realm they're targeting. And with that, I would suggest as a starting point, go to the company pages on LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, I would definitely create one. It's not unusual to not have an account already because you haven't really needed it, but in the corporate world, it's essential. So yes, connect with people on actual profiles, but also go to company pages. And in this screenshot, I provided a view of the company page row because it is a rapidly growing healthcare company that actually one of our current specialists here at MatchDay, she's a coach, and we've had fellows get interviews there. So thought this would be a good example. Hopefully it's large enough for you, but you can see here that within the search bar, when I was under the people tab of this company page, I typed the word talent. And LinkedIn is smart enough to know when I say talent, I'm referring to the talent acquisition team, the recruiters, or even those on HR, people ops, however they refer to their talent team. It gave me all 26 of the stakeholders there who work in that realm. And recruiters have a big hand in being the door opener or closers to getting you in with the appropriate party to progress in interviews and get placed. Those who are leads in a department, for instance, if you're going for program management, director of programming, could be a great fit to type in here as well. Type in program versus talent. It could go on. And I could honestly do several presentations tied to networking and outreach, but this is a good, easy tactic that you can get started with. And when it comes to getting started with rebranding your resume, I thought it would be helpful to share a few initial prompts because with the help of Claude, GPT, Perplexity, you name it, whichever is your go-to tool, I would recommend popping in a prompt like if you're a nurse, transitioning to customer success manager as an example. Help me rewrite these and emphasize relevant skills. So you'll find with that starting point, you should have a higher quality resume. I like including one tied to quantifying impact because I will say as a recruiter, what they do on repeat is scan for metrics, quantitative impact, not only with their eyes, but on their ATS application tracking systems. And I do often get pushback about that. How on earth would I quantify anything if I haven't worked in a corporate setting? And there are ways to go about it. I'm going to show you a couple of examples, but you can think in terms of how many patients you see a day or how many departments you collaborate with. So there are creative ways that Claude or a coach could support you with. And speaking of resumes, what I did, or I really should say, I got to give credit to one of my fellows who is a NICU nurse targeting account manager and customer success. And as she went down a rabbit hole with prompts of rebuilding her resume, it gave her this cheat sheet of sorts of how to reframe a term like on her resume, it had the term charge nurse handoff. That could translate into operational briefing or status report in the clinical world or the corporate world. And interview questions. I thought this was great as well because she took it a step further as she's been interviewing. And hopefully you're here, Chelsea. Thank you for this. Tell me about a project you managed from start to finish, and then giving an example of perhaps a complex discharge and the stakeholders you coordinated with. So I also like this. Instead of I took care of patients, I managed a portfolio of high equity patient cases, coordinating care delivery. So I won't take the time to read this to you, but I thought this was a really well done correlation to really connect the dots of what in the clinical world translates into corporate language on a resume and a LinkedIn. And I want to piece it together with an actual fellow's resume. This was, I made it anonymous, but this is one of my fellows who was a dental hygienist. And as far as the self-discovery piece, sometimes it could be mentioned in passing what you enjoy, but coaches tend to really read demeanor and body language. And I could tell as this fellow was speaking to her day-to-day responsibilities, She absolutely lit up when it came to her training her staff on how to utilize dental tools or dental software. It's referenced here Pearl AI. And if I'm recalling correctly, it would scan the teeth for tooth decay and catch cavities before they were visible to the human eye. And in seeing that she lit up and explaining, learning that product, sharing it so it's understood how to utilize it by her staff or those other dental hygienists on her team, we came to the conclusion that she should target implementation manager. And as you can see, her original resume, this is a very standard original resume I could see. There are not many metrics. It's really not branded toward her target role, understandably. But what we did was conduct research. There's a lot of keyword research that goes into your target role. Fortunately, here at MatchDay, because of those categories, we're very well aware of the trending keywords at this point, including for implementation manager. But we did some resume scanning research. We scanned job descriptions against a resume scoring tool to validate that it had the trending keywords. We integrated metrics. Even though this is a good example, even though she didn't individually contribute $2 million in revenue to her dental office, the dental office itself did rake in 2 million plus between 2019 and 2024 within her tenure. And you can think in terms of if you work for a hospital, not only what you do individually, but you have a piece of that pie. You are contributing to the overall organization's success and the revenue it brings in. So basically, as a result of this curating, she got 3 interviews within the first week of utilizing this resume. And for that reason, I thought it was a great example of what a quality aligned resume looks like, in this case, targeting implementation specialists. And when it comes to LinkedIn, I want you to prioritize that, whether you're deciding to get support from a coach here at MatchDay or going about it independently. I do want you to weigh heavily the LinkedIn just as much as the resume, because I can say as a recruiter, my observation, including for myself, we would often spend more time evaluating, making judgment calls of who to interview based on a LinkedIn profile over the resume. Both are equally essential, I would say, but recruiters live in this software known as LinkedIn Recruiter, and it's a different version of LinkedIn and makes it very easy for them to find talent who recently displays themselves as open to work, who again have the keywords within the job description of what they're looking for. So this is a very common before LinkedIn when a fellow first starts here. It can maybe not exist, or maybe it looks like this, having a couple of connections. And with some curating, this is a good version of an after. I pulled the LinkedIn from one of our recently placed fellows, Caitlin, who actually recently got a $150K offer with benefits. So she's very happy, an occupational therapist. And as you can see, I'm not even showing the full profile here, but the top of it, which is essential because it makes or breaks if a recruiter is going to scroll down to make that let's connect decision. But you can see here, her headline is very well branded to her target role within the realm of business development, but it also acknowledges her impressive occupational therapy background. She's got a crisp, well-lit headshot. The banner speaks to her clinical expertise. There's logos tied to her most recent employer, as well as where she was educated. She's got more than 200 connections. So there's a lot, I would say, looks strong and I'm not surprised that she is now placed with a strong compensation. So, I mean, with that, I hope that that tip of iceberg, those suggestions as far as evaluating what energizes you, looking deeper into those categories of operations, program management, customer success. We do keep track of all of our fellows that get placed month to month. So I hope referencing some of the recent up and coming startups and larger companies, Mercor, Handshake. There's so many in my head that I could be sharing, but anywho, I do hope those initial suggestions you find helpful, and this is recorded so that you can refer back to it. So I will pass it back to Rami.
Awesome. Beautiful presentation, Jenny. Thank you so much. Guys, Jenny is an amazing coach to work with. She really cares about our clients, and I think all of our coaches do. Like, they really go above and beyond to make sure our fellows are supported. And you know, it's you know, a lot of this is tactical, and some of it can be intimidating, but with the right support and the right structure, and even with some of these tactical things that you can take away from this today, if you do work with us or with Jenny or any of our coaches, they're in your corner, they're invested in your success, and that's kind of part of what we are really intentional about here at MatchDay. So this part of the presentation is for those of you who want to learn a little bit more about the fellowship. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Essie, who is our admissions advisor here at MatchDay. And after Essie does her intro, I'm going to walk you through kind of the do's and don'ts of a career transition. So we call them the 6 career killers. So if you kind of think of like a compare and contrast with my perspective and Jenny's perspective, I always come from like the mindset, the tactical, like the philosophical shifts, the mindset shifts that you need to make internally to be successful, and our coaches are really on the tactical side and the practical side as well. So, Essie, if you want to jump in and introduce yourself, that way at least people can put a face to you and know who you are if they decide to work with us. Essie will be who you will be connected with. Looks like Essie's got some camera issues. So Essie, I don't know if you can turn on your mic, but if you want to do that, you can try just turning on your mic. All right, well, if you get that working, Essie, we'll loop you back in here. But in that case, I'll just go ahead and jump into my part of the presentation here. All right. So these are basically the 6 career killers, I like to call them. These are the things that really are what keep people hung up. And this is informed based on my own personal experience, as well as my coaching experience, as well as all of the fellows that we have reviewed and coached over the last 2 years. So, you know, these are the things you want to avoid, essentially. The number one career killer for me, and I think this is for most people, is the identity piece. Having, you know, when we train as clinicians, we create an identity around ourselves. It's where we derive value. It's how we know how to speak about ourselves. It's, you know, it's really embedded into us, and it's often very unconscious. And so, oftentimes when clinicians specifically are career transitioning, there comes a point where there's a real identity crisis where you don't know the value that you bring, you don't know who you are or how to present yourself. And this is one of the things that we really want to get ahead of when we are pivoting to a new role, because if you internally don't feel confident about who you are and who you say you are, it's felt. Recruiters will feel it. It'll come off in different ways in your messaging. It'll be very subtle, but it will hold you back in a number of ways. One, in your own kind of process of like not really believing what you're saying and who you're presenting yourself to be. And so one thing to really be conscious of is how to create a new identity, how to present yourself as the person you're becoming, right? So after you go through a clarity phase, if you're, a customer success manager or a product manager or an operations leader, how do you now start to internalize your identity to be that, right? And there's a number of ways to do this. You don't have to throw your existing credentials out the door, but there's a way to confidently have that in the background, right? Like, so I'm a product manager, a clinical product manager. I do X, Y, and Z. Here's the value I bring. And oh, by the way, here's what makes me stand out. I have 10 years as a clinician working in these kinds of healthcare settings. I bring this kind of knowledge alongside being this person. And so having that strong identity in your career pivot will be a huge support as you are navigating this process. Career killer number 2 is the confusion piece. That's why we really have one of our pillars being the clarity phase. It's really important to know what your strengths are, what values you have, what energizes you, and then how does that match up into the market, right? Like, what are your transferable skills, and where do those things match up? Career killer number 3 is something that that I really suffered from, and this one is lone wolf syndrome. I find that this one is typically a lot harder for men because we like to think that we can do everything ourselves and we don't need help. And so I know women also face this too, but I know especially for men, there's kind of that resistance to asking for help. And so without a network, without a support system, there is a much higher chance of kind of burning yourself out or giving up too soon or kind of going into that downward spiral. And so really setting yourself up for success so that when you do face the inevitable, delays or rejections, you have a proper way of navigating that without losing momentum. And that's super, super important. And that, really kind of just segues right into this, the downward spiral. The name of the game in career transitions is momentum. You want to keep momentum going for as long as possible. When you're consistently applying, when you're getting interviews, when you're making progress, that all feeds on itself. And the worst thing you can do is to break that momentum or, get derailed or, take a rejection and then all of a sudden, stop the process or stop doing what you're doing. That will really slow things down. And so having momentum is a super important piece psychologically in making a career pivot. And then I have these 2 here in red. These are more like knowledge gaps that can be real career killers. So not having a clear strategy, not getting the feedback loops, not having a process to iterate, that can really delay you, because if you're stuck in a loop or if you're making, let's just say, there's an interview red flag that you're unconscious of and you keep repeating it, that's going to hold you back for a very long time and you may not ever know why. And one thing that we always tell our fellows is that you really shouldn't ask recruiters for their feedback of why you get rejected, because they're most likely not going to tell you the truth. Probably because they don't want to hurt your feelings, and also because they've got a lot of other people they've got to talk to and they don't have the time to go into it in depth with each person. But we will tell you the uncomfortable truths. We will tell you when, things aren't going right and maybe there's a red flag or something like that. You really need to have a process. And honestly, you could even just record your own interviews and listen to them back, or maybe ask someone to give you some brutal advice. But that's a very important piece, is having that feedback loop. And then, of course, there's the knowledge and the skill gaps. So not knowing how to speak the business language. So before you, get to stage 4 where you're actually interviewing, there needs to be a level of internal understanding of like what you're targeting and how to speak about it. And being able to speak about it from multiple different angles. And that just takes practice. For a lot of these roles, they're entry level. And so even with your clinical skills, if you can frame them in a business language, that's really what they want to see. And they want to see that you have the ability to talk in that language so that you are seen as someone who is the right fit for that role. So basically all of this to say is these are the things that you want to be aware of so that you're not setting yourself up for failure and just to be conscious about during your pivot process. So with that said, I'm going to open up the chat here so that Essie can communicate with you all in the chat while I am doing this presentation.
And I'm back to work. I'm back working here.
Oh, nice. Well,
I don't know what happened there.
Awesome. Well, actually, I see that your camera's loading, Essie, but I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't see
Something,
the camera
but
actually.
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
want to give a quick intro, go ahead, Essie.
Okay, I'll just jump in here really quickly. I think it'll be good right before Rami continues talking about the details of the fellowship. If my camera turns on, great, but at least you can hear me. But again, my name is Asi. I'm part of the admissions team here at MatchDay Health, and really just the first person you would connect with if the fellowship or further support is something that you did decide you wanted to explore a little further. I know it's a big decision. It does not need to be made alone. And so a little bit about me. I have spent over a decade working directly with clinicians, both in patient-facing settings as well as in the back end in non-clinical healthcare. So when someone comes into the conversations and they tell me that they're exhausted, that they're stuck, and they're just ready to move forward with something different, I really get it. And I just know that what that environment can do to people and healthcare professionals and what it feels like to be considering making a change. So if you want to continue the conversation, again, Rami is going to go over the full fellowship in detail. We want to create space for it. So I will go ahead and attach my direct calendar link, what you can expect to happen in these conversations. It needs to be about you. And so we want to focus on your background, your goals, your timeline, your situation. And I will, of course, give my honest take on and read on whether this makes sense, further support the fellowship, doing this independently, depending on where you are at right now and where you're trying to get to. And I think sometimes too, just having the space to think out loud with someone who knows the healthcare world as well as the non-clinical path, and being able to talk through your specific situation in more of a private setting will be helpful. So I'll put my link in here right now, but I'll pass this back to Rami to continue talking about the fellowship so you get the full picture.
Awesome. And I did turn on the live chat, so if at any point any of you have a question for Essie or you want to connect with her, she will be putting out her calendar for anybody who wants to have a chat with Essie about the fellowship. Also, for anyone that's here today, we do have a gift, basically a discount just for fellows who are here on this presentation. So that will be included for anyone who's attended this meeting today. So without further ado, I'm going to go a little bit over our Q4 2025 placement report. So this is from October to December. We had 17 fellows placed, and 76% of those fellows landed a remote or hybrid job. 88% of those were completely out of patient care. The average salary for our fellows was $112,000. I was blown away by this. I think early on we saw a little bit lower in the fellowship, but I think that our coaches have done a phenomenal job with the negotiation piece. And we just recently, maybe last month, had a $50,000 salary increase. I think it was from $120,000 to $170,000. And that's a big reason why this number is much higher than the average entry level job. And most importantly, I think the average day to getting an offer is super important. That was around 88 days, which is just phenomenal. And it speaks to the level of persistence on our team in refining and iterating this process so that we really speed it up. And if you compare this to a DIY transition, the average time for a self-paced transition will be somewhere around 12 to 18 months. And that's with consistent effort. So shout out to our coaching team on delivering an amazing program and success rate for our fellows. So I'm going to dive in here into kind of like what makes MatchDay unique. Like I've talked about, we have truly a transformation system that's been validated now with over 100 placed fellows. And so because we have a large team of coaches, we're able to constantly iterate on what's working best for fellows and then incorporate that into the training of the coaches. So when one coach is having a lot of success doing something, we're able to get that feedback and then start integrating it into our core program, which the rest of the coaches start to get trained on. And so, one of the things that I think is very unique about us is we are very data oriented. We track everything. We look at what's working. We track what fellows are saying. And that feedback loop is always making our program better. And so whether that's having a good clarity architecture, having the best tools, especially the tools, like there are so many AI tools right now, and some of them are just garbage and others are really great. And so we're able to really focus in on the ones that work really well and support our fellows in how to actually use them. And then kind of like push away the ones that aren't working so well. So we have essentially an ecosystem, a feedback loop, and that's really kind of our proprietary operating system. I've personally spent a lot of time with Chanel and Jenny developing this program, getting the feedback from our fellows, from the ones that have placed, and even the small percentage that haven't placed, to constantly refine and make this process better. And that's why we have that 88-day average offer rate. The second thing that's super important for us to highlight here is that we have a very high degree, a very high standard for our coaches. All of our coaches have a minimum of 2,500 hours of coaching experience prior to working with MatchDay. Jenny worked for several years at a coaching company before us. Chanel, our program director, has over 10 years of career coaching experience. They're trained on our program, so all of our coaches that come in to work with MatchDay, they go through our training program so that they really know how to support our specific demographic. And of course, there's all the data and the hiring side insights that we have that our coaches get access to. And so, I think comparing this to other coaches or coaching programs, there's a unique value proposition here in that MatchDay has a very high level and a high bar for quality. And it's not based on, a single personal anecdote. I think that a lot of coaches can be great mentors. Maybe they made the transition themselves, or maybe they were a clinician once and pivoted. I personally could never deliver the type of coaching that our coaches have because I don't have 10 years of experience doing it. And so there's a big difference between what I would call a mentor, which is someone who made a one-off pivot or maybe offers advice and support, versus what I would rank as a MatchDay coach. And so I think that's a very important point of differentiation, just so you know the level of quality that we have here at MatchDay. So I want to talk about your journey working with us and what that actually looks like. So it typically starts off with a conversation with Essie, of course, to walk you through the fellowship details, and then support you through any of the onboarding piece. But once you get onboarded for us, this is a very personalized process. So right away, you're onboarded with our program director, or one of our program directors, either Jenny or Chanel, and you'll go through a number of, I want to call them questionnaires, where they'll help better understand who you are, your style of coaching, and then they will match you with the right coach for you. And I think this is a very important piece, because all of us are unique, all of us are different, and we're all heading in different directions. And so based on that initial assessment, we will match you with the best coach for you. And that's a very important piece, because right now we have over 15 coaches, and for some coaches, for some fellows, we have very specific coaches we want to work with them, whether it's based on personality or maybe they're targeting a specific role. So we want to have you placed with the best coach for your needs. From there, you'll go through the actual transformation phase. So that will be going through the clarity phase, going through the confidence phase, going through the conversion phase, and then ultimately going through offer and negotiation. And then ultimately graduating and becoming a MatchDay alumni. And this is one of the things I'm super, super excited about, because we really are building an ecosystem here, and we want fellows to continue to support each other. And we already see this right now within our fellowship and within our community. Fellows that place in jobs are often coming back and bringing their opportunities to new fellows, whether that's posting them in the job board, whether that's having a coffee chat. You become part of a supportive community, and then hopefully once you get a job offer, once you graduate, there will be potentially mentorship opportunities for you in the future, but also you can give back and help others by sharing jobs and sharing opportunities to MatchDay fellows. And that's something that we really believe in, is that there's always kind of this giving back culture within MatchDay. I'm gonna pop over here. So I'm going to walk you through the 4 pillars of the MatchDay Fellowship and what it really comes down to. And these phases, I just want you to remember, they're flexible and they're interchangeable. We've had fellows come in that have made a little bit more progress and jumped right into interview preparation because they had landed an interview or something like that. So they're pillars, but they're flexible, and you can jump between them at different points. But phase 1 is really the most important phase. This is where you build the direction, where you understand who you are, what your skills are, what your values are, and where that lines up in the non-clinical market. And from there, creating really a roadmap to getting there and positioning your transferable skills so that they line up with that actual job. And so by the end of this phase, you should be walking away with a short list of about 2 to 3 validated career paths with a strategic direction on how to actually navigate that. And This phase, like I said, this phase is very important because it helps one, with the identity crisis piece, with the lack of clarity piece. You don't want to be spinning your wheels. You want to go in very confident and clear about where you're going and how you're going to get there. Phase 2 is the confidence building phase. And this phase is all about really building confidence, right? It's not just about your resume or your LinkedIn or, the assets that you have, but it's about who you are becoming. And so that kind of all comes under one umbrella. We want your resume, we want your LinkedIn, we want your narrative arc to all be speaking the same language. And what we want to help coach you to actually have that confidence to present those details and speak about them confidently. And so I think one of the things that I've seen happen is that sometimes people have a LinkedIn that speaks one way, a resume that speaks another way, and then they're going into the interview speaking in a completely different way. And that just creates confusion. That does not build confidence for you or for the recruiter. And so we want everything speaking in a cohesive language, and we want you to be able to speak about yourself in that language confidently in a grounded way in every interview and while you're navigating the job search process. So you have a very guided, structured path of navigating the job search. There's accountability, you're hitting those milestones, and hitting those milestones week after week will ensure that you maintain the momentum and maintain your confidence. Phase 3 is what we call the conversion phase. And this is when we ultimately get interviews and we convert on those interviews. So the last thing we want to go do is to land an interview, go into that interview and not be prepared, or maybe answer with a red flag or do something that's going to set us back. And I've seen this happen, like missing even one interview can set you back months. And so when you do get an interview, we want to make sure you're fully prepared to succeed in that interview. And so that means having live mock prep interview sessions with your coach, one-on-one, addressing any potential gaps, addressing any confidence issues, addressing any red flags, making sure you have a full 360 picture so you go into that interview fully prepared and fully ready to get the offer. If interviews don't go well for whatever reason, sometimes we do encourage fellows to record them, and you'll actually get to review that with your coach. That does often something we do offer to our fellows. And then, it's part of the iterative process, right? Maybe your first interview doesn't go great, but we can, review it, get some feedback, and help you be successful in the next one. And so this phase is really, the ball's in our court. It's time to, hit the slam dunk, and that's what we're here to help you do. And then once you do get an offer, we want to help you negotiate that offer. And so we use market intelligence and benchmarking to make sure that the salary you're being offered is market appropriate. But we also want to teach you how to negotiate in a professional way and get the most upside in that offer. And we've done this now countless times. We've got over $500,000 in salary bumps over the last 2 years. And so this piece alone is probably worth the entire fellowship's value. Like one of our most recent fellows had a $50,000 salary bump. On average, Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the salary bumps for negotiations are typically around 10 to 20%. And in the corporate world, these are already kind of baked into the offers. They know that people are going to counter, assuming they have the confidence to do that, and there is a professional way to do it. And this is something you'll learn and you'll take away for the lifetime of your career. And you'll be able to use this over and over again for promotions and all your other job searches in the future. And the last piece is, like I mentioned, becoming part of our alumni ecosystem. Once you graduate, you'll become part of our alumni. You'll always get access to our community, which I really didn't even talk about here. I should mention that we have a very robust community on Slack, 900 plus members. We have a private job board where hiring managers are posting jobs every day. And we also have a partner ecosystem. So we have a lot of health tech partners that do come to us to fill positions. And many times, we are able to support our fellows with getting their foot in the door through that pathway. So all this to say, you graduate, you get the offer, and then you become part of our alumni ecosystem. And that allows you to get continued coaching as needed, whether it's for a promotion, whether it's for a workplace challenge, whatever it is. You can either work with your existing coach or any one of our new coaches. So as you can see here, we've built a very comprehensive fellowship. We've put a lot of work into making this something that is focused on results, and I think our results really do speak for themselves. We've got now 27 5-star Trustpilot reviews. A lot of our reviews here, shared screenshots of them here. But all this to say is that our results speak for themselves, and credit to Chanel and Jenny for building such a high quality program for our fellows. So I'm going to pause there. I'm sure, and wow, this is amazing. We have 100 people on this workshop. We have literally every single person that signed up on this workshop. That's crazy. We only had 100 spots for this, and it looks like I don't know if Riverside is giving me accurate data here, but it looks like there's 100 people. So thank you for sticking around, for listening to this. I hope that it's valuable. We want to stick around for a little bit to see if there's any other questions. If you want to have an intro call with Essie, she can answer any questions that you have, and then there is a special discount for anybody that's on this call that wants to work with us. We are offering it as a one-time only deal just for people on this call today. So, for me, this is a lot of fun. I feel like we're, in a way, giving people hope and doing our small part to give people their lives back. And for me, it always comes back to that mission of how do we help you live that fulfilling life and get to where you want to be ultimately. And whoever it is you work with on our team, you will be in good hands and you will be fully supported. And we are with you till the end. Like, we are in your corner. We're invested in your success. I'm invested in every fellow's success. Like, I'm oftentimes making introductions whenever I can. And so, like, we're not this mega corporation. We're still small enough where really we try to give as much attention to every single fellow that we can and make sure they're supported through the whole process. So Essie will be taking calls. She will go over tuition. There's a couple of different fellowship packages, so it just depends on which one you're going to be signing up with. That'll all be covered on your call with Essie. And Essie, if you have your sign-up link, it looks like you already...
Yeah, I linked my calendar there a couple of times. I already saw a lot of people signed up, so I'm excited to connect with all of you. I also did link my email there, but I'm gonna put it in here one more time in case you cannot find a time that works for you. I know sometimes the calendar spots are limited. If you can't find a time, please let me know. Or even if you're feeling like, maybe I have some questions first, I wanna address that. Send me an email, let me know. So I'm gonna put my email here right now, but my calendar is linked there a couple of times.
Awesome. And yeah, so you will also get this recording, and we will drop some of those PDFs that we shared as well. And so if you haven't booked a call yet with Essie, I would encourage you to do so. But if you haven't, you will get a couple of emails, you will get this recording. And if it's the right time for you to make a move, I always say the best time to plant a seed was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. And so, the sooner you get started, I think the more the more time you give yourself to start flourishing, there is a ramp up period where it might take sometimes a month or 2 months to really start getting that momentum. But once you do, things really do change. And so if timelines are an issue for you, we do have flexibility with the program. So we have been able to start with some fellows. Sometimes something comes up, you are able to take a pause period if you need to. We try to discourage it because, like I said, we like to build momentum. We want you building momentum, but that is an option, and Essie can definitely go over that with you if that's a concern.
Yeah, all the logistics of kind of when, how, what happens is what we're here for. Like, we want to make sure you've got full clarity and understanding how this works and what is a good time. Same goes for the length of the fellowship too. Just as the process of making a pivot from clinical to non-clinical, it's not always very linear, and same goes for each of us as individuals. So we want to make sure that we meet you where you're at while still making sure you are provided the space to move forward and take that first step. So if you, again, have these specific questions, let's talk about your specific situation. So then we're not providing generic information that may or may not be relevant. But yeah, would love to continue the conversation and just be of service.
Yes, and also I would love to see, like, just by a show of comments here, what everyone's backgrounds are. Whether you're a physical therapist, OT, physician, nurse, RH, chiropractor. Awesome, love it. School therapist, RN, FM resident, let's go. PTA, awesome. Chiropractor, love to see it. I love that we're seeing chiropractors here. Prosthetics. By the way, I go to a chiropractor every week and it's life-changing for me. Prosthetics. RN. One second. I'm going to let you guys meet Lola, my little doggy over here. She's been such a good girl. She didn't even bark once. Lola, say hi. Say hi. Are you a good girl?
Hanging out.
Are you a good girl? She's so good. Good job. She's getting some treats after this for sure. Awesome. Dentist, speech pathologist. Wiener dogs are the best. They literally are the best. Awesome. I love to see the diversity here. It's really cool. Nurse practitioner, PT. We got a boxers fan. Boxers are great dogs too. Physician. Awesome. And I should say that for any of the physicians on here, in the opportunities area, I think the path sometimes for physicians is a little bit different. Oftentimes because there's kind of like a limit of, salary potential or salary where you want to start at, and it's really hard to start in an entry-level job earning $250K, but we have had physicians be successful in certain roles we had a physician earn a job for clinical product strategy earning around $240K. I will say it's a lot longer than 88 days average transition. It's probably closer to 6 months for physicians, just because there's often kind of that salary piece can hold people back from making a move. But if you are willing to take a pay cut, generally down to 150K, to get your foot in the door and start, there are a lot of very reasonable paths for that, and we do work with physicians. But I do try to be upfront with physicians that want to work with us that you do have to get your foot in the door. There is going to be a pay cut, very for sure, And once you do get in there, there is a meaningful path to higher earning potential, but it typically isn't right off of the bat. Now, there are other opportunities where we've had physicians target chief medical officer roles, and typically they've had a little bit of experience and that's worked out, but I'd say that's a little bit more rare. But in any case, if you want to still have a chat, we can walk you through what that looks like as well. Daria, yes. So because there's a few different, it's kind of individualized for people, I kind of leave that to Essie. Generally, it's a mid four-figure investment. And so you would be looking at least, yeah, mid four-figure investment with the option for in-house plans through MatchDay. So we do offer that. You know, most of our fellows end up going through one of the payment plans. Could be anywhere as low as $200 a month. Some people like to pay it off with no interest. That could be around $700 or $800 a month. I think it just depends on what level you want to go with. And like I said, Essie can walk you through all of that information and give you more clarity on that piece. Nope. So for physicians, residents, not having a license wouldn't necessarily impact you. I mean, not having a career transition. I wasn't board certified, so I dropped out of residency after my second year. I did have a license to practice medicine, which you do get after completing 2 years of residency. But I did not get board certified, and it really didn't hang me up because, like I said, it's about the identity piece. So when you're, on the non-clinical side of things, you're not really just speaking about yourself as a board certified physician. You're speaking about yourself in a different way. You're branding yourself in a different way. You want to use that credibility as your background, but it wouldn't hold you back from non-clinical opportunities. I will say bigger companies like HIMSS or Roe or some of these other companies, if they're looking for like a chief medical officer or something like that, they do want someone who's board certified and licensed to be in those roles. But there's a lot of product strategy roles, consulting roles, operations roles that wouldn't matter for. Unless you're doing some type of patient care, that wouldn't really be necessary. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit. Cool. So Essie, are you good with sending out the link? Does everyone who wants to chat with you, are they able to do that?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it one more time just in case it got missed and buried up in the chat. And then really briefly, what I wanted to mention too is that, also apologize if you hear my cat in the background. Someone's not being good. But something to mention really quick, that a conversation that I have kind of over and over again, is that sometimes the hardest part isn't necessarily the pivot itself. It's almost like leaving something that has become so second nature to us. We get conditioned into who we are within our careers, which rightfully so. We work incredibly hard to get where you are today. So that feeling of staying almost feels like the safer route, even though we, at our core, we kind of know that it's no longer serving us. And so just know that with that comes maybe fear or uncertainty. And that's, again, a very human response. And to that, you don't need to be navigating that alone. And again, creating a space and in these conversations of that feeling excited, feeling maybe some level of scared, that can coexist and you can still make the right choice for yourself, whether that's you doing this independently or with the support of us. But yeah, just wanted to mention that there's no right or wrong way to go about it. And ultimately, we want healthcare professionals to succeed. And again, knowing that you've got opportunity, that's for sure. But it can still be somewhat scary.
Yeah, and I don't think we've had a single fellow that wasn't scared before.
No.
I think every single fellow there's been some level of fear or hesitancy, whether it's about, you know, the imposter syndrome, or is this going to work for me specifically, or, you know, there's an investment involved. That's a real thing, right? Like going to school, there is an investment. Like, so people want to know, like, is this going to work? Am I going to get the outcome? And so it's kind of a self-fulfilling process, right? If you're not fearful, if there's not some level of nervousness before this, you're probably not that serious about it. So I think it's a good thing if there is a level of nervousness. It just means that, you know, you're willing to take this serious. And I will say, like, the self-fulfilling piece is actually, we don't talk about it enough, but something happens, there is a shift that happens, and I've seen this happen a lot of times, for myself included. I've paid probably $50,000 for coaching in my career. Once you commit to something, there's a switch. The timer's on, there's a container, and now it's time to move and to go in a direction. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming, but there's a container, right? You've made a commitment. And I think the most important thing about a career transition is that there is a container and there is an end goal and an outcome that we're aiming for. It's really hard when there isn't a container. If you just let things drag on and you do it here and there, that's when things can be a real issue. But when you put your money where your mouth is, when you commit, and when you are making progress, that's when you give yourself the best shot at success. I've got a wedding. I'm getting married to my fiance in September, and I've got to lose 15 pounds. So that's my container, right? And I got to get up every day. I bought 32 size pants that I can't fit into right now. And I'm like, if I don't fit into these before my wedding, I'm going without pants. Those are my two options. So I've got to lose the weight or I'm not going to my wedding. Well, I am, but you get the point here. It's to say that, like, I've given myself the container and now I'm like, I got to do it or pay the consequences. All right, guys. Well, it's been a beautiful night. I'm sure you're all wanting to get to bed or hang out with your family, go on a walk or something. So thank you so much. Like, I'm genuinely so thankful for all of you that have showed up and given us your time. I really do hope that you've walked away with at least one or two things here that's going to benefit you in some way. Whether you decide to do this fellowship with us or not, I wish you the best of success. I want all of you to succeed. I want to comment on all of your posts on LinkedIn. If I'm not following you on LinkedIn, I want to get connected with you. I want to congratulate you when you get that job. And genuinely, guys, I really wish all of you the most success. And if you do decide to work with us, I promise you are going to be in great hands and well taken care of. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much, Jenny, for your presentation, for being with us. Thank you so much, Essie, for supporting all of our future fellows. And you guys will be getting a recording, and we will hopefully see you on the other side. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Right. Thanks, everyone.